No, I mean, otherwise just a really, really uneventful week.
Yep.
That we will just keep referring to as an extremely uneventful week that anyone listening to this 3 years from now through the back catalog is going to be like, what happened?
Well, everyone, we should just address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
I think it's time we actually talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it.
It was the anniversary of 9/11.
It was. It was a really important time. It was the 24th anniversary.
That's right, Brian.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast to celebrate the 24th anniversary of 9/11. I am the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. We're sitting here in person for the first time in a while, which is fun.
In the World Trade Center.
That's right.
Yeah, the one World Trade
new
Center.
one.
There used to be two. Now there's
just one.
Yeah, we're in the museum. There we are behind plexiglass. There's a whole bunch of tourists walking by us right now.
The museum isn't in One World Trade.
No, it's right
a
next
separate
door.
building.
It is next door.
We're in the we're in Condé Nast headquarters
That's right.
right
Oh,
now.
hell
Yeah.
I am at the offices of Skadden, Arps, Meager, and Flom. Actually, I think that's over at Hudson Yards.
That's a real thing.
That's
not just sounds you made up.
That's a law firm I've made up for an interstitial.
That's 4 answers to a question in the impossible quiz.
No, Skadden is like the most evil law firm in the world.
Really?
Like, famously. Yeah.
Okay. We're here to talk today about kind of a broad topic. You know, we like to discuss internet culture every now and then and use a handful of different examples. And
to celebrate 9/11.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
actually, yes.
Genuinely.
we are taking a look this week at Flash games, which are just such an integral part of internet culture for people of a certain age.
Yeah.
I know that for me, Flash games and Flash animations were a massive part of my life. But
right.
AJ, you really, that wasn't the case for you at all, right?
I dodged it. I went on Newgrounds because I was a huge fan of Aaron Hansen. And because I was watch Game Grumps a lot.
So you were an adult. You weren't a kid.
You were a grown-ass
You didn't
adult.
play
I was a
any
full-grown-ass
Flash
adult.
games when you were a kid?
Not really.
Okay.
The ones I can remember playing were mostly on like Nickelodeon's website and stuff like that. But I wouldn't play them for very long because I had computer games and I had my console. Like I had the GameCube, I had my Nintendo 64. And so these things would like hold my attention for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And then I would completely be like, okay, well, on to the next thing or whatever.
If you're comparing it to a fucking Nintendo game, then like Flash games
generally the point.
aren't going to be much. But the thing that was so exciting about Flash games was that anybody could make them.
Yeah.
And there was such a huge community there for a little while, making both Flash games and animations.
Right.
And it was one that I dipped my toe into for a little while. I made a couple Flash animations, which will never see the light of day.
Oh, wow.
You didn't put them through the portal, Josh?
I never submitted them to the portal because I never finished any of them. And I think I've lost my remaining backups.
That was me too. I made a couple of little animations on the computer that just I gave up on and then did stuff with construction paper for a while that will also never see the light of day.
Is that what they would call it when you submitted something to Newgrounds, putting it through the portal?
Yes. I mean, and speaking of Newgrounds, right? Flash games, for me, it was kind of similar to you, AJ, where you played stuff on Nickelodeon. I played stuff all over the place, but it was all the corporate stuff. So I remember like Post Serial had a website where you could play some games.
Well, that's not even getting into Chex Quest.
Oh, God.
No. Chex Quest, that's a game you put on the computer.
That's right.
I remember playing a couple of Flash games that were on the Focus on the Family website.
Oh,
that
shit.
related to
Were there
Adventures in
Odyssey
Odyssey.
Flash games?
Yeah, there was one that was like...
Are they in Flashpoint?
They could be.
Oh,
I don't
man,
know.
let's look it
There's
up.
one where you're playing as like Connie and you're managing the counter and having to fill people's orders, right?
Oh,
Kind
so
of
it's like
standard.
Tapper?
Yeah. And
Jake's game.
the big thing that I played a lot when I was a kid was CartoonNetwork.com.
Yes.
And CartoonNetwork.com made a ton of these Flash games that were like fetch quests.
Yeah, like adventure games, but not really.
Yeah, there was also a really unique fighting game that was like Dragon Ball Z, where you could play as the different characters and you had to like move to a quadrant of the screen and then also target a quadrant of the screen. And so you're kind of trying to predict where you think the NPC is going to go as you're attacking them. But as far as like the amateur stuff, which is what Newgrounds really birthed, I don't know. I played some games on like a Java game site because that was also a big thing way back.
Right.
And then a friend of mine was like, oh, yeah, you should go to yugoplayer.com. So I played a bunch of games that started on Newgrounds, but then you could just steal these games. Right. You could just lift them off of a website and put them somewhere else. And
or save them on your computer. And that was a big piece of it for me was when I was a teenager, I had my own laptop, but it didn't have Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
Because this was that brief period of time before Wi-Fi came standard on every computer.
Right. Could it connect? Did it have the Ethernet port?
Of course it had an Ethernet jack, but it was either that it didn't have an airport card in it or we didn't have a router. Either way, I would basically plug my computer into the internet, download Swift files, that's SWF, Shockwave Flash, the actual like file of the game, put it on my computer, and spend a great deal of my spare time just playing these Flash games.
Yeah.
And once I got DSL, my lips got very thick when I was 17. No, when I was a junior in high school, that's when we finally got like broadband internet of any kind. I had dial-up before then. So it was like, play the Cartoon Network game and you wait for 45 minutes and then you get to play it. So then I was like, okay, I know that a lot of these games come from Newgrounds. I'm going to get a Newgrounds account and play Newgrounds games.
And I feel like there were sort of two portals that people would usually use. It was Newgrounds and Albino Black Sheep. And I was an Albino Black Sheep guy.
I see.
I was fairly active on the forums over there for a little while.
Yeah.
Got into some crushes on e-girls, things of that nature.
God.
It happens, you know. Spending most of my time on Albino Black Sheep and DeviantArt.
Those two go hand in hand, I feel.
Yeah. We could play some games on some websites in high school, right? Our computer was hooked up to a Citrix system. There were all these thin client computers, and the only website that really worked was addictinggames.com. And even then, some games just wouldn't quite work right, except for the Impossible Quiz, which we'll talk about a little bit later, which a bunch of my classmates got really, really obsessed with.
And I feel like that was the other big thing with these games, is that you could play them on the computers in the computer lab. Up until, of course, your system admin at your school, blocked addictinggames.com from the domain.
And then you used vTunnel to access it again.
or you did what I did, and you actually installed a little proxy on your own website. So I had like proxy.joshborman.com set up, and I would go there because for some reason they didn't block joshborman.com. Also very like
that's really smart.
15-year-old
that's
brain
so fucking
to be like, they'll never know who did it at joshborman.com.
No, I'm clearly being framed.
I remember like we would play stuff on Addicting Games. I would usually play sort of stick figure based stuff. There's like Tower Defense. There's like Defend the Castle. Madness, which isn't exactly stick figures, but I played a lot of Madness Interactive. And then there were the kids who also played a lot of shit on Yahoo games.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'd swear at people. And that was like our big thing is like we'd swear at people while playing pool on Yahoo games.
You could write shit in the chat.
Yeah.
Whoa.
AJ, you didn't know any like degenerate gamers in your high school?
No, because here's what happened. I was really into Flash animation, so like Homestar Runner was where I was spending
End of Z World, that kind of stuff.
End of Z World.
Badger Mushroom, things of that nature.
Yeah, like all that stuff made its way into my orbit, but then I tried to go on Newgrounds like one time, and I hit something so racist immediately that I bounced like really hard off of it. And I just never went back. And I feel like that is a pretty common experience of people going on Newgrounds back in the day.
If you didn't grow up right wing, I guess.
It was a common experience of going on the internet.
Right. There's no censorship. There was no FCC to tell a website that they could or could not put something on that on there. So
there were no woke liberals telling anybody how to act.
Yeah, you could go from playing a game where you're a monkey throwing darts at balloons to playing a game where you're a monkey fucking those balloons.
That's right.
And nothing was going to stop you.
What's that game called?
There isn't one. I was just exaggerating.
That
Although when I looked up Bloons,
like.
when we were playing, I was going to play original Bloons for this episode. When I looked it up on Newgrounds, the first thing that popped up was a bit of adult art of two of the monkeys from the series fucking each other. No one was fucking a balloon.
Okay.
But I think this episode, if you are somebody who grew up with this shit, welcome. Hopefully this feels like a nice warm bath. That's what I'm aiming for. If you didn't grow up with this kind of shit,
welcome to hell,
welcome to hell.
Yeah.
I mean, here's what I'll say, right? I think that the era of Flash games led to some truly extraordinary creativity.
Yes.
It was a simple toolkit that allowed a lot of people who otherwise would have probably been a little trepidatious about dipping their toe into the water of game development.
Absolutely.
To go do a thing, put it out there, and get immediate feedback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of this was really good. Some of this was fucking awful. And we're going to be talking about both of those things. But
absolutely.
It's my hope that if by the end of this episode, you feel inspired to go and make something based on what you have heard, I would recommend going and making a Flash game because those toolkits are deprecated. But there are other tools that you can use to get started and make something of your own.
Yeah.
Do not make Pico's School.
No, don't do it.
No, someone already has.
Yeah, it already exists. You couldn't make it today because it already exists.
It would be very strange to make it.
Yeah, like AJ, you mentioned that animations and games, you were more the animation side, but they were using the same tool to make these two things.
Right.
It's hard to talk about this history without both of them being there, but we're pretty much just going to focus on games today.
Yeah, because I mean,
animations could be its own series of episodes.
I would love to do one at some point, but what you really need to know about Adobe Flash as a toolkit, originally it was called Shockwave Flash. And it was developed by Macromedia. Now, Macromedia was a company that developed various software that could be used to build presentations, basically. That was how they got their start.
Interesting.
And so it was presentation software. Their flagship product was something called Macromedia Director.
Okay.
And the idea was like slideshows, interactive presentations, stuff that you would put up at a booth for a trade show where people could like click around and see the shit that you had going on.
Of course. Yeah.
That was what Macromedia started out with.
Okay.
And for a long time, their signature product was, like I said, Director, which you would use to compose these applications in something that was called Shockwave. Shockwave was a plugin that you could install on any computer. It was platform agnostic, so Mac, PC, Linux, fucking BOS, I'm sure.
Of course. I know what that is.
Yep.
Okay, I'm getting bullied on my own podcast and I don't appreciate this.
Big ol' software.
BOS is, I'm assuming, some operating system that's not around anymore?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like OS 2 is kind of a similar example.
Oh, of course. Now I know.
Shut the fuck up.
Badgers order sandwiches.
Microsoft Bob, could you play it? Could you use it on Microsoft Bob?
Microsoft Bob was just
Boss
a front end for Windows. Come on.
Bob on Boss. Boss on Bob.
I knew that.
Yep.
When you get on your bullshit about musicals, do I be like, oh yeah,
Do I be like-
Stephen Sondheim? Ha.
Big ol'
No,
Sondheim.
because you also like musicals, you big homo.
So Shockwave was the standard for a while, and then they built an even lighter weight platform, and it was called Shockwave Flash.
Gotcha. Okay.
The benefit of Shockwave Flash was that the plugins would load more quickly, the files were smaller, so they would load more quickly. And again, this was the days of the early internet. Downloading like a megabyte took a long-ass time if you were on a dial-up connection.
Yeah, everybody was on dial-up still.
Right.
If you wanted that Sports Illustrated bikini shot, you had to wait several hours.
And then sometimes it would time out, and then half the picture would be gray.
That's right.
But you know what?
But the gray part was my favorite.
That's your favorite part because that's where the imagination lives.
Oh, no, there's no imagination. I just wanted gray.
But yeah, Flash then became the new standard for if you wanted something that was portable and easily accessible. And Adobe ended up then acquiring Macromedia and Flash because it fit very nicely into their profile. You have to think about the fact that Adobe, one of their flagship products was and still is the PDF, the portable document format.
Right.
And the whole pitch of that is this is a platform agnostic document that you can take all over the place.
Adobe is a great company. We all love them. They're great. It's a fantastic building material.
That's right.
Pairs well with stucco.
So people started using Flash then, rather than just building small applications, they started using it to make animations and animating stuff, and eventually,
but it was also interactive.
Yes.
So you realize, they always had their own little play button because you had to wait for it to load in the first place. You wouldn't want it to autoplay, although some did.
Well, hell, in some cases, you would get entire websites built in Flash.
Yeah,
because you could make a website that was more interactive at that time than you could do with simple HTML.
Yeah.
And it was actually more likely to load consistently across browsers because you might remember back at that time, it was an absolute shit show. And it was really a kind of like a fucking coin flip as to whether a given web page would render consistently across different computers and browsers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things about old websites is just when they would have coins on them that would like rotate, but it wouldn't quite be fluid animation. So it would just kind of like
jerk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, and that's what these were. A lot of these early Flash games were people just realizing, hey, I could nudge it this way so that the interactive element can be a bit of a game, and you kind of cheat the way that a regular game would track things. But you're able to make it work.
Right.
And so these early projects are stuff like AJ and I were playing on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, or I don't know, the promotional websites for various movies.
Yeah.
And they were made by professionals, not amateurs, not quite yet, except for the animations.
And Flash, in its original incarnation, was much less feature-rich than Shockwave.
Yeah.
At first, people were pretty much just using it to do very simple animations. But what happened was developers started moving away from Shockwave and toward Flash. And as a result of that, Adobe, well, first Macromedia and then Adobe, ended up building a scripting language into Flash.
Okay.
And it was with the release of Flash MX 2004 where we got ActionScript 2. Okay. ActionScript 1 allowed for some automation. ActionScript 2 was basically a full language that then allowed for much richer interactivity. And as we're going to be talking about, you see a real jump in the quality of Flash games right around that same time because of what the toolkit was allowing developers to do.
Yeah, this was a very dangerous time for young Gen Xers who grew up as indoor kids.
Yes.
And one such Gen Xer who grew up as an indoor kid is a man named Tom Fulp. He was born in 1978 in Percy, Pennsylvania. A little like borough near Philadelphia of about 9,000 people. And he was a huge Neo Geo fan.
Like the arcade cabinet?
Yeah, like Neo Geo games.
Right.
Yeah. Metal Slug is a Neo Geo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Fatal Fury.
King of Fighters?
King of Fighters, definitely.
Okay,
Samurai
okay.
Showdown.
People who were big into SNK, Neo Geo, those tended to be fighting game enthusiasts because that's what SNK was really good at.
These are
what it's looking at,
weirdos.
yeah.
This is like, if you're a kid born in 1978, you're a Nintendo kid or a Sega kid. You're not a fucking Neo Geo
third
kid.
thing.
And did he have like the Neo Geo home console? Because that shit cost like $900.
I don't know, but he definitely had early access to the internet in the 80s and 90s because he had terrible anxiety and depression to the point that it sickened him so much he had to stay home from school quite a bit in elementary school.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And he was very, very young. I'm drawing a lot of these autobiographical details from Tom Fulp's own words on the Newgrounds wiki, the wiki hosted on Newgrounds.
It's quite a tome.
It really is. And I remember reading this 20 years ago.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh,
It
yeah.
was much shorter back then.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
He's updated it, but I don't think he necessarily has gone back and like rewritten the early passages, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because there were some sections I was like, oh, I remember that. So in 1991, he was on a Prodigy server for Neo Geo fans.
Fuck, dude.
Okay.
He was a little fire starter, twisted fire starter.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Damn.
Anyway, Tom Fulp was making a Neo Geo zine that he printed out, like an actual zine, but he got the addresses of all the people on that Prodigy server, which I'm not even totally certain what that is. It's like an internet service provider, but also has this sort of like AOL, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about ISPs back in the day is that the ISPs doubled as basically news groups or portals.
Okay.
So like, if you are on Prodigy, you could talk with other Prodigy users on their BBS.
Okay. So he was on a BBS and he was sending these out to people's physical addresses, right? He just got their addresses and he apparently had a circulation of about 100.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Like probably mostly adult Neo Geo fans getting these things from a kid who would be 13 years old at that time.
No.
No, it was fine. He wasn't doing anything.
No, I know.
And you know,
this is the way that it is when you're
Yeah.
a young enthusiast on the internet. This was like the story that I told about how like I was in the pinball news group.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I went to that guy's
Sure.
house down in fucking Lansing and he was not expecting a 16-year-old.
It was like, oh no, oh geez. Okay, well I gotta be nice to him, right?
Yep.
And it's like, this is the early internet no one's using their real names.
Right.
They're all, using usernames. And he went by Tom Gulp.
Nice.
He just changed one letter in his name to be anonymous.
I mean, I go by Bosch, I
know.
get it.
Well, but like that's what's interesting to me about him is like all of the other early Newgrounds people, they all have these, very different names. Johnny Utah, Ego Raptor, whatever. Yeah. And Tom Fulp was just going by Tom Fulp basically from the mid-90s onward. He never had that kind of OPSEC.
He did have a website called joshborman.com.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
There was a really good proxy on there.
Yeah.
I've heard.
I used it frequently.
There was even a point, speaking of him being an indoor kid, when he was going into his sophomore year of high school, he begged his parents to homeschool him. So they did for 1 year. Huh. And he says that was really important for him. He got a year of kind of isolation that was really good for him, and it made him actually more social afterwards and went back to school and graduated.
Honestly, I had the exact same experience in 7th grade. I was also homeschooled for 1 year.
Middle school is so awful.
It's awful.
I think we should not. I think it should just be like elementary up to 6 and then high school from 7 to 12. I think that would be better than having middle school.
But that is a lot of like children around 18-year-olds. Do you know what I mean?
I
like
suppose, but like
so different,
I think just like isolating that particular age group.
No, I think K through 8 makes more sense to me.
Okay.
Like that's the school I went to. That one made more sense.
But you're right. Yeah. It's isolating 6th through 8th grade, the worst years of your life.
That's a horrible idea.
You have no models for decent human behavior.
No, because the thing about doing K through 8 is that you have to mind yourself around like the kids, right? Yeah. Because you're 13, 14
you're
years old.
You're demonstrating behavior.
Yeah. And you have like kids who are looking up to you.
But I just to bring it back to the homeschooling thing for a second.
Yeah.
That was the 1 year that I was also homeschooled for very similar reasons. Okay. I was also feeling a tremendous amount of just not fitting in socially, which is the case for, I think, literally everybody who's ever been in 6th grade.
Yeah.
But I had this thing of like,
not me, but yes.
If I were, okay, Mr. Popular.
I was very popular.
How has that worked out for you?
Well, I'm currently in a basement with 2 other men, so I think great. I think it's worked out real well.
There was the thing of having that year, which I think was also the year that I got broadband internet.
Okay.
There you go.
I started to.
It was good for your learning.
It was, but nor did I want to stay there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I realized that there is something really important about being around your peers, even if you kind of hate most of them, which I did.
Even if they're not really your peers.
That's what they were. They couldn't fucking match me in the intellectual arena.
The debate already. Even pre. I do think, Josh, that it is interesting, too, that you get this broadband internet, and you were someone who I think from a very early age knew they wanted to get out of Michigan or like get away from your hometown. And so this offered you that window to the outside world.
That's true. Not going to lie. I mean, I know we said that we were going to talk about how normal this week was, but I have been thinking a little bit about the fucking guy who shot Charlie Kirk and how, like, we don't fully know exactly what his whole deal was yet.
Yeah.
But we do know that his brain got deep fried on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's also the case with my brain.
Yeah.
But there are different directions that can take you in life.
Yeah.
And it's largely dependent on what kind of communities you end up in and where you decide to go.
So as a junior in high school, Tom Fulp makes Newground Remix, a website that is the digitalization of this zine project that I guess he'd just been continuing this whole time.
Fascinating.
So he was mailing out paper zines to 100 people
about King of Fighters or whatever.
That's a lot of toner and a lot of
Yeah, it's a lot of mimeograph ink.
Do you think he was printing it at home or going to the Kinko's?
I think it sounds like his family probably had some money if he's like on the internet that early and everything like that, right? Computers used to be very expensive.
And it also sounds like a fun project. It's like, you're sending your little thing to your little friends.
Yeah.
I'll help out with that.
Yeah, it all seems more or less fine. Then the website maybe could have used a bit more parental supervision. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
His senior year, he branches out and starts making games. So this is 95, 96. This is not Flash. This is not Shockwave. These are HTML games. These are basically just hyperlinks that you click on to make each choice. Little choose your own adventure stories.
Sure. Okay. I think that some of this stuff does owe a debt to HyperCard. The Apple software, which Myst was built on.
That's what I was going to say. I know that from Myst, yeah.
Because the concept of HyperCard was that you would have these stacks of cards that just
that you jump to.
And you could link the cards to each other.
Yeah.
And, that again, with Myst, it was just a really, really elaborate set of cards that were linked in a lot of different ways.
It was a slideshow, basically. Yeah.
But the thing was, and this is something that a few Apple people have talked about.
Yeah.
If Apple had just thought one more and had been like, what if you could link stacks to each other through the internet? They would have invented the world's first web browser.
Yeah.
They didn't do it, but they could have.
Yeah, it's interesting. The choose your own adventure thing, like the little click the hyperlink and do the next thing. Of course, we see that in without choice architecture in some of the early creepypastas where it's sort of like, go to the next part of this blog, right?
Yeah, we talked about that with Ong's hat.
Yeah. And in high school, there was this, I think it was just called chooseyourownadventure.com that I'm just now has just come back to my head.
Oh my God.
This was with all the same kids who were playing these fucking Yahoo games and whatever. You just get a binary choice at the beginning, but it was crowdsourced. So if you reached a choice that someone hasn't written the next section of, you got to write that next section. Usually it just got very pornographic for most of it. It's like, oh, and then you run into vampires, and then you're like, okay, do I say hi to the vampires or do I run away? And it's like, say hi to the vampires. It's like, the vampires are fucking and sucking.
I mean, in fairness, I feel like that is also what we do on this podcast with some frequency.
Yes.
Like I literally was just talking about Ong's hat, which somehow became a joke about a hat filled with cum. So
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
Well, because AJ heard it and he decided to be a real Ong's hat about the whole thing.
Okay, well, first of all, I Alfreded all over that Ong's hat.
God. You can't keep the Alfred thing going, you son of a bitch.
We're just so good at it.
What would you think if people made a joke out of your last name and turned that into a regular word? That they treated like a silly thing
before. That's never happened in my whole existence. My family didn't get its name by being minstrels to Irish kings. By being
Kings?
Yes, the Irish kings. By being minstrels to British kings.
Josh is so incredulous at the idea that there could be an Irish king. I'll have you know, there have been Irish kings.
There
like
were.
King Brian, my namesake.
Yes. Namesake.
I don't know what he did.
Well, he was in Celtland and he battled Mammon, and that's how we got the documentary Quest 64.
Okay, you know what I think? I think all of this is a real bore, man.
Hey.
Whoa, that's you. Okay.
AJ Titty is what I was called a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because people wanted to.
Did people ever refer to your family as the Itty Bitty Ditty Committee?
No. That is what casts of mine have called themselves in the past. The cast of BB's Inferno call themselves the Itty Bitty Ditty Committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In kindergarten, I realized that my name could be transformed into Alfart, and so I just got ahead of it.
Sure.
I was like, oh yeah, my name's Brian Alfart. Ha. So no one could ever use it to make fun of me. I had taken all that power away by making a really lame joke and sucking so bad. So
it's like, look, we would have never thought of that. Thank you.
Yeah, you made a real Ong's hat of it.
Yeah. They're like, wow, that's really not funny.
But you know what your last name does sound like? Jacking yourself off.
It doesn't. So Tom Fulp, whose name doesn't sound like anything.
Yes, not at all.
Made his first game on this site called Club a Seal.
Oh.
So what do you think this game's about?
I'm going to guess it's about seal clubbing.
Yeah, so you get a little JPEG of a cute little baby seal.
And you go out for a night on the town?
You what?
You go out for a night on the town?
No.
You go to the club?
I mean, I guess it could be night. It doesn't indicate what time it is, but you just kill.
It's actually about it's about going to the club with the singer Seal.
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, you can tell where this is going. It just becomes more and more graphic as you can just choose to continue clubbing the seal or not. I couldn't play it. I was trying to find it because he ported it over to Flash later, and that doesn't work on Ruffle. But there was an HTML version that I remember playing a long time ago that used to be preserved on the website.
Okay. I think I remember people talking about this game, but they talked about it in sort of the hushed whispers of you should not be witnessing this.
Well, and this came out when you were a very small child, right? This was 1996.
Yeah.
So this was not in the venue of the games that we really played when we were preteens and teenagers.
You were so wee. You were a veritable one-man itty-bitty-ditty committee.
I was.
Yeah. It's not. You can't have a committee with one person. I refuse
now
to.
That fucking attitude.
I will not officially recognize this committee. So another thing that Tom Fulp made at this time was less a game and more a series of little games called Assassin.
Okay.
And in Assassin, he would just update it. Every once in a while, he'd add a new link to be like, here's the next guy that you can kill.
Okay. But these are all still essentially stacks, right? These are not yet games.
Yes, you're just clicking through. Each one has its own distinct URL and everything. So like it's like walk closer to a building, walk further away, go around, and you can actually play this today on the Internet Archive. The targets included such people as Barney.
Okay. Yep.
Yes,
was the style at the time. Hey there, you are listening to a preview of a premium episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/worstofall. And you can listen to not only the rest of this episode, but our entire backlog of premium episodes, bonus episodes, and if you subscribe at the $10 tier, you will get an extra episode of the podcast every single month. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. Hope to see you there.